So next up, as a speaker, I'm really happy to have you with us on this Digitale Leute Summit. So she has experience from a lot of great iconic companies, Delivery Hero, Shopify. Now she's with Personio. Please come on stage, Karolina Skalska. A big applause, please. So thank you very much for being with us. So I'm really looking forward to your talk and to the Q&A at the end. So the stage is yours.
Thank you, and really happy to be here. So hello everyone, my name is Karolina Skalska, but people know me also by my nickname Skali. Most recently I'm leading teams at Personio, but previously Shopify and Delivery Hero, so I think I have a little bit credentials when speaking about UX quality and sort of broken windows. So the story that I want to tell you today is about the quality of products that probably many of you here are shipping on a daily or weekly basis. And the goal of my talk is basically to provide you a pragmatic, really practical outlook and tools so that you can find, implement, fix the issues of the quality within your product, sort of operationalize quality so that you can fix the broken windows, experience depth in your organization. And why did I even choose to speak about this topic today? There are a couple of reasons. One of them is because throughout the years, I've been with many companies, with many teams, and I've seen a lot of teams actually struggling with identifying what the great quality of the experience is and kind of pinpointing what it is. So that's why I want to provide you with a pragmatic outlook, pragmatic guide how you can tackle it. Perhaps you are starting a new job and you want to identify what are the areas to fix in your product. Perhaps you are already in a product and you are well aware of your laundry list of items to fix, but you want to figure it out what would be systemic approach to actually fix them and reduce the number of new issues that are coming up. Maybe it's also because you realize that your team is using terminology like quality and referring to a poor product quality, and you want to really pinpoint what is it. So my goal is to provide you a short understanding. And the last reason is basically very selfish. I'm a designer, I'm a UXer, all in and out. And I care about the quality of the products that we ship, and I want you to care about this too. So let's start with the sort of a concept of broken windows and how this relates to product development lifecycle. So broken windows is a concept coming from criminology, actually. And it basically means that in the urban environments, vandalism and disorder and petty crime, if not addressed right away, is sort of leading to a bigger concerns, more crime, more serious crime, and more degradation of sort of those urban environments. A lot of cities like New York in the 90s implemented successful tactics to resolve broken experiences, broken windows. And that means basically to tackle them as soon as you realize, because later on they will start piling up. So how this refers to a product itself. What are broken experiences and broken windows in our products? Those are all those compromises that we made along the way, and bad decisions, bad designs, some issues on the latency, wrong code, and all the compromises that we've actually basically made along the way. One time is okay, 3 times probably as well, but eventually they start piling up and they become problematic in terms of a really holistic end-to-end experience. So this is how they are basically referring to a product. And I'll be talking today how we can fix those broken experiences, how we can address an experience depth. So from broken experiences to a business impact, because that's ultimately what matters. So, and I was told that I need to click really hard. OK, here we go. So let's start with the quality, what the quality actually is. And it comes in people's understanding so many different versions and forms. And throughout my years working with multiple teams, quality is one of the things that I care and I do a lot because I lead the teams and I sort of assure what we are shipping in terms of the end product. So this is the word that is like really coming more often than the other words, sort of a buzzword. But many people struggle to find the actual meaning of it. It might be weaponized and used in a form, well, that was a bad quality, and then kind of you feel bad about the product that you are shipping and trying to figure it out how I can ship better quality. And it comes in this like really ambiguous format that we attach very different meanings coming from team to team. So it's like really a beast, right? But it can be fun fixing it. So I'll be going through how we are fixing it. But before we get to that, I want to talk a little bit about the terminology itself. So we have UX quality, we have a design quality, we have a product quality, and we have experience quality. And they are basically mean all the same thing, but I intentionally choose to speak about experience quality and product quality over design or UX. Why? For again, a very selfish reason. When we're speaking about UX or design, it usually lands on a UX or design team's lab. While you are speaking about product quality and experience quality, more disciplines feel kind of accountable for it. So it helps in the narrative. So let's move forward, kind of identifying, like what is the quality, right? And what quality means to me. So quality is not one thing. It's sort of a sum of multiple efforts that you take on the multiple levels. And I like to use this framework it's called User Delight Framework, User Delight Theory, and it's based on Aaron Walter's kind of a hierarchy of user needs. It's very similar to what Maslow created in terms of human needs, and the principles are the same. So basically, before you get to a top needs, more kind of complex needs, you first need to address the fundamental needs. And let's look what we have in terms of a fundamental needs. We have functional systems, so utility. The system needs to work, and the system needs to provide kind of a purpose, serve a purpose, right? So if it does serve a purpose, it already brings value, but serving a purpose is not enough. So it needs to be also reliable. The users we need to trust, like, do we trust the system? Will it fail us? Once we secure that sort of a component, we are moving to usable systems. So is it easy to use? Is it seamless? Is it frictionless? Is it accommodating? So all of those questions are helping us to actually reach a better quality of the end product, answering them one by one. And then we have a fourth one, which is like pleasurable. That's sort of the delight on top, sharing on top. That's the emotional reaction that we have to the systems. And it can manifest in various ways. It can be about aesthetics, because we are humans, we like beautiful things, we like when the things look nice. So it's really, it can manifest as aesthetics, it can manifest as really clever content as well. It might manifest as emotional reaction to using the system, which is, oh, that was easy, or like, oh, that was actually nice, right? So we are kind of introducing some form of emotional reaction. So those are the four sort of components that I measure and I treat as a quality. And those are user needs. But I have also a fifth one, because we are all working in a commercial environments. So we are part of some businesses, I believe most of us. So we need to care not only about the user needs, but we need to care about the business needs as well. So the fifth element that Aaron didn't account for is, because he focused on user needs, is a strategy of the company. So we can understand it in twofold, what and how. So the what is the actual strategy, and whether the design and the experience and the end product that we are shipping is actually propelling the business forward towards the North Star that we set up for ourselves. And then there is how next to that what. So organizations have certain ways of doing things, ways of working. There's also tone of voice or brand, a set of principles. And that also is part of a strategy, but it's more about like how we are doing things. So is the design reflecting, is the experience reflecting that sort of principles and kind of tone of voice and brand as well? So those are those 5 things that I sort of like are components of a great quality experience that I measure against. It's a combination of user needs and business needs that the design and the experience needs to fulfill. And now I would like to also address the sort of a baseline, because from company to company, the baseline might be slightly different. But I will urge you to actually think about this as like the baseline being above the 3rd kind of level of the pyramid. And when you're slicing it, and when you are thinking about like the scope itself, because this is theory, right? But we are all living in a pragmatic world, and there will be times where we need to cut corners, probably more times than not. So we will need to cut somehow this pyramid, right? And how to cut it? I will urge you not to cut it horizontally and focusing only on functional systems, but rather focus on more narrow aspect of the functionality, either like a target group smaller, less complex, and ship it addressing all the needs that I just outlined from the user perspective. So slicing it from top to bottom so that we are shipping a smaller chunk, but a chunk that already address functionality, reliability, kind of usability, a pleasure, and kind of strategic outlook from a business. So let me go further. There are a couple of concepts that I also want to address in the context of, again, being this pragmatic persona in all of it. So we are in reality. We will be cutting scope. So how to think about the quality when we are cutting scope, and when we have a different fidelity of the work. So there is this concept that is called release to learn, and there is a concept release to earn. And there are 2 different concepts, right? So in terms of quality of the product and how we scrutinize, how we sweat the details, it will really differ based on what you are optimizing for. If you are optimizing for earning, which basically usually means it's a GA, you are going global, you are shipping the entire product to the entire user base, there is more risk involved, that there are more implications on the users, so you will really like scrutinize the quality more. But if you are releasing to learn, then obviously like there's more opportunity and kind of wiggle room to on the conversation. What is the quality of that product that we release to learn? Because usually the scope or the user base or the how we are rolling this out is smaller. The second concept is also in relationship to thinking about fidelity and effort, and the scope is effort versus impact. So how we are thinking about this. So in the matrix of effort and impact, when you have like high effort and low impact items, this is your money pit. This is not what we want to do. And I will be talking later today in a couple of minutes about like all the things that my team did and identify more than 70 issues on the quality side. And obviously we cannot fix 70, right? So what we're gonna do? We're gonna prioritize. So prioritize what matters, right? And I want to talk what actually matters. So you're probably all familiar with this like double diamond process. You have a problem, you have solution. You might have many problems, so you first like diverge, then you converge, identify 3, 4 problems that you're gonna tackle. Then you have a solution. You're again gonna come up with multiple ideas, how to solve it, and then you're gonna pick up one. And that's gonna be your ideal version, right? That's what we would like to ship. But there is a lot of other things that might actually happen in the middle before you actually ship what matters. So the thing that matters is that thing at the end, right? Like the actual product. It doesn't really matter what idea you had, what beautiful designs you had in a Figma file, if the thing that you shipped, there is a huge delta in between, right? So this is also kind of helpful concept when thinking about the quality, because a lot of things will happen during a build. Performance, scope, time, somebody on a sick leave, some cutting corners, again, more. So the thing that you ship will look different. So now going to the pragmatic part, this is like tips, tricks, tools, frameworks, all the things that I actually implemented, or maybe a fraction of the things that I have implemented at my teams over the years. And I would like you to think about this in a way that you can pick one, you can pick few, you don't have to pick anything, but maybe something sticks with you and helps you to kind of implement in your team to drive the quality forward. And how I would like you kind of think about this as well, it's backward-facing versus forward-facing. So backward-facing is basically the tools that I will tell you how you can identify the quality issues and what actions you can take to actually build a backlog of your quality issues. And forward-facing is all the sort of systemic process kind of components that you can implement to reduce the number of issues your teams are creating. And then a couple of words on on what stage of the product development process we can experience issues. And the bad news is quality exposes at every stage of the product development process. So you, together with your team, you will need to really dive and understand where the issues break for you. And in my experience, they usually break in more than one place. For example, in one of the products in my portfolio, they were breaking at the implementation level. So basically, when we had those beautiful designs, but there was no QA, design QA that was happening before the production, before the product was going to production. They were breaking as well in terms of really kind of understanding of the problem space, and they could break as well, for example, in the design phase when you have a new team that doesn't understand the company principle or design systems and so on. So look across your end-to-end product development process to see where the things can break for you. So now into specifics. One of the activities that you can do, and this is particularly helpful when you have maybe a new team or a new product. What I mean by this is like new product that you take care of. The product is already existing. And it's like really during a thorough experience audit. What is the audit? It's sort of a holistic systemic review approach to check what might be wrong with your product. So you will engage with different activities. One of the activity will be, for example, heuristic analysis that I will dive shortly. Another one will be engaging with your customer support teams and sales team. If you're lucky, your customer support teams organize the knowledge that they have from the customers, and it can be a really easy tool for you to dive. If not, then you will need to parse this yourself. And sales teams will help you why the product is not selling. So also some of the indication of the quality. Then obviously understand the users. So either review the existing user interviews or user research that has been happening previously, or conduct a couple of user interviews if you feel you're missing this information. Then pair with the data teams and dive really into data that will tell you how many issues you have, at which part of the flows, and so on. So that's an UX audit. And in terms of a heuristic analysis, which is can be a separate activity as part of the audit, I wanted to dive a little bit more in the details about this. So I hope most of you know Jacob Nielsen. This is like a guy who created 10 usability principles. A guru in UX. If you don't know his name, then please look it up. He created those 10 principles, sort of a rules of thumbs, how the systems should sort of interact and what they should do in terms of like when interaction with the humans. So heuristic analysis is basically picking like 2, 3, 4 people from your team, doing this independently, and measuring against those 10 principles. So what are the principles? It's like system status visibility. The user needs to know where they are. Then match system and real world. That's particularly true, for example, on the language. Do not use technical language or jargon. Like, make sure that the mental models and the language reflects a real world. Then you have user control and freedom. And that refers to how people are using the system. So they will not be using this quite often in a linear way. You need to give them an option to go forward, go back, like exit, cancel, do, redo, and so on. So give them a control over the system that they are using. Then you have a consistency in standards that can be understood as sort of two ways: consistency of your own product and kind of repeating the patterns, but it's also consistency in standards that already exist. There are certain things that everyone understands what they mean outside of the system, so do not reinvent the wheel. Then you have everything about error. So you have error prevention and also error recovery. So when you can prevent the error, for example, mountain road usually have those like side sort of bumpers, rails, so they prevent you from going off the road and falling into a canyon, right? So that type of kind of prevention. And recovery is when you use the system in a way that it's easy identifiable that this is an error, and provide information how to course correct. So all those like technical error has appeared like 3, 4, 1, 2, C, 7, right? Like all the weird numbers and that we all don't get as a humans. So instead of this, like really speak with the human language and provide an option for the recovery. Then there is also recognition over recall, so don't rely on the memory of the users. There is a flexibility and efficiency of the use. Minimalistic design, which basically means like form follow function, don't overdo the form. And help documentation, which is systems should be easily understood and self-explanatory, but there will be times when the user will need extra help and provide easy access to it. So those are those set of 10 principles that you can measure your system against and kind of identify an opportunity where you are not meeting the usability standards, when your product is not meeting usability standards. And another sort of a quick exercise that I like doing it, I brought it up because it's really quick and easy and easily adaptable to different kind of things, not only speaking about the quality, but any dirty sort of laundry list that you might have in your organization. Really, you take a piece of papers, cut out the shape of trousers and socks and t-shirt, if you are brave, maybe underwear. Get your team together, get a rope and a couple of laundry clips, and get together with your team and identify what is your laundry list. So all of those exercises can help you build a backlog of issues. And don't be surprised if you find a lot of them. You will need to basically prioritize. So the prioritizing framework that I use is basically like what we all are using: P0, P1, P2, P3, from user catastrophes, so no-brainers, those things you need to fix, through major, minor, and cosmetic stuff. And now off to sort of, so we spoke already about how to identify issues and how you can build the backlog of the issues. So those are like sort of a backward facing. Now let's move towards a forward facing, and how you can systematically introducing some processes in the team help to either resolve this on an ongoing basis so it doesn't pile up, or kind of prevent it from happening altogether. So there is this concept of experience depth. And probably most of you are familiar with the technical depth. That's like many tech companies have addressed this already. Engineering teams have 10, 15, 20% of their time allocated to the technical depth. And my proposal, and something that I did with my teams, is to expand this to experience depth as well. So we are bringing on other disciplines, design and product, into this kind of a time allocation of 10, 15, 20%. And that helps us to actually groom and gradually go through a backlog of issues on the experience side, so they do not grow and that they don't need to be prioritized individually. Off to another concept, or off to another kind of practices, is around the Jira and the GitHub. And I think I missed one. Let me see. There should be about the OK process. No, here, maybe another one coming. So Jira and GitHub practices. Very simple thing to do to implement with your teams. First thing is introducing acceptance criteria, design QA required. That helps to address the quality issues on the implementation side. And it's really a small, little, impactful thing that can be a forcing function for reviewing. So add to your tickets design quality, design QA required. Another thing is, which helps again with the backlog of the quality issues, is new tickets label. So UX issue, experience issue, quality issue, whatever name you choose. And that will help you better track what's going on. And I think the second to last sort of aspect is OK process. So basically, like, you can again choose like the terminology what you want. I'm choosing OK because in the process we have OK1, OK2. But I have systems in place, so frameworks in place, to make sure that through entire end-to-end product development process, I can check in with the teams, or the teams can check in with their teams as well, team members with their teams. To have those points of contact and talking about the quality. So it can be really informal, like pairing. And what I personally do as a leader to have those early access into what the teams are working on, I have a pairing bookable hours in my calendar. And the goal of this is not provide really kind of a review, not create a disproportion in terms of a hierarchy. You are coming to me and I criticize. So it's not a crit. It's really working together through it in a Figma file and having ability to provide insights early on and kind of course correct the team. Then there are more, still not formal, but semi-formal design jams, experience jams, which are sort of a fresh eyes, sort of a design crit, but also kind of more casual. And then you introduce like some formal checkpoints along the process, and I have two, which is OK1, OK2, and we are doing this after the proposal phase, when we are confident we want to move forward with the project, and then we have after, before the final implementation, when we are reviewing the designs. So the process itself. And the last thing that I want to talk in terms of like the practical things that you can do is experience, quality experience guild. So what is a guild? It's a unit in a team that you can create from folks, combined from folks that coming from different disciplines, from UX, from engineering, from product. Folks that are already passionate about the topic, that already proved that they want to drive quality forward, and they are sort of a point of contact for other team members and are pushing the quality topic. So you can, like, it's really a cool concept to actually get them together. And a lot of those previous things that I outline are really sort of a top-down and process changes, while this one is really a bottom-up. So having a team start spreading at different standards about what good quality means for us as a team. Their goal is not to fix the quality. Their goal is to influence and advocate for the quality, educate, so perhaps run workshops or have office hours that other team members can come and ask about the quality, review work with them, check against design systems or like implementation and so on. And also what is cool about this is that it's much easier sometimes to review things with your peers than go to a manager or kind of a leader and ask for that type of a feedback and kind of expose maybe gaps in your knowledge. So like Experience Guild is like this bottom-up initiative from folks within the team to level up how we are thinking about quality. So now those were basically like a couple of tools and tricks that I'm using, and now it's story time, because I want to tell you and show you that I'm actually doing the things that I'm preaching. So the story is from one of the products that I had in my portfolio in another company. It was basically a purchase flow. So, and kind of part of the organization or part of the product that it was really revenue kind of focused. So a bit scrutiny around this, and we did everything that I told you. We did the audit, we connected with customer support, we connected with sales, we look into data, we identify where we have issues in terms of equality, how many errors are being thrown, and which part of the flow, and and it turns out that it's 70 issues. And how do you tackle 70 issues? You cannot have like 2-3 teams working for 3 months on 70 issues. So we exactly like prioritize them, tier them, focus on P0s and P1s, and align with leadership, with senior leadership of the organization, that we will prioritize a one cycle to fixing the top 10 issues and seeing what impact it can drive. So those were the results. Like the impact was enormous. It turns out that we were able to reduce 2 million errors thrown in the system per week. And that resulted in an increase of 4 percentage points in the user retention, existing user, and then 67% increase in the new user conversion. So I just closing with that thought is basically everything that you do on equality will have an impact on a business, or can have an impact on a business. And that's basically why we are doing it. And also, kind of closing, the final thought is that equality doesn't mean perfection. So like we are all in reality, right? We try to be pragmatic and find like how we can move a needle a little bit, not over-investing in that space, right? So quality doesn't mean perfection, but it rather means excellence. So really sweating the details on the design, sweating the details as well in the process, and finding those kind of ways of course correcting along the way. Thank you. Questions?
Thank you very much, Karolina. Very interesting talk. So we have some time for questions. So it's up to you to ask some questions. Should I come around with the microphone, or could you come up here? There is the microphone. That would be perfect. But I think I come down. It's easier for you.
Hello. Nice. Thanks, Kali, first of all. Really interesting. One thing that just comes to my mind when you spoke about the last piece about impact, in reality, when you work in product teams, there is the balance to make between fixing issues versus, delivering new features.
Yeah.
Besides from the impact you mentioned, do you have any guidance around, navigating this, the struggle?
Conversation, the struggle. Yeah, the struggle is real. Our approach was to show the impact, basically. So sort of a foot in the door technique. You commit to a smaller thing. It was like get a buy-in from leadership to focus like one cycle on solving top issues. So this is what we exactly did, because the perception was at the beginning, okay, 70 issues, but 70 small issues. Some issues were like cosmetic, or really content, or really like content on the error logic and kind of recovery of errors, right? And the question was like, what huge number or what seems tiny issues, what impact it can drive, right? So try to prove it. Find the ones that you believe can impact the highest number of users and kind of drive those. Get alignment from leadership on a smaller number and smaller time commitment. So like show by doing the thing. So that was our approach. And it actually scaled very well because initially we received a lot of pushback that is it the time well spent on a quality of the product if we have so many like new functionalities and goals. But we managed to secure sort of like alignment for a shorter period of time. And then we came back with the great results. So the entire concept of doing UX audit and having a team focus for a cycle on fixing quality issues has been scaled to the rest of the organization. So show by doing.
Thank you. So are there more questions? No more questions. So then I would like to ask you one thing. So like I said at the beginning, you will also teach at the Product Design Bootcamp from Digitale Leute School. So when you teach new product designers, so the juniors. So what are the most important parts? What do you think?
Oh, a tough one. You're putting me on the spot. What are the most important parts in the product design? That you have a human on the other side. Like sometimes the things that attract people into a design is the visual layer and kind of designing, so creating something, and it's a fun part. This is what actually like years back attracted me. But you're kind of doing this for another human, so you need to keep that in mind. Plus, so the user kind of user aspect, and then you have a business aspect. You are working in a commercial environment, so the work that you do need to drive impact.
Okay, thank you. Are there any more questions? So we have 5 minutes left, so we can dive a little bit deeper into that. So I would have also questions to your user needs hierarchy you had there. I think that was very interesting. So do you also measure the upper level of the hierarchy? Because for me, this is always something when you have on top to delight the customer, for example. This is something for me, when I use a user interface, this is always something I only feel. Yeah. So do you measure that somehow?
I mean, there are proxies for measuring it, like NPS, for example, right? Like it could be a proxy of that. But ultimately, it translates as well to traditional metrics. So like if you see a high churn of the customers, like you can indicate, but like measuring the emotional reactions, you can get only from a qualitative insights. And quite often it's not even verbalized. It's only when you start like asking customers, how does it make you feel? And then they go, oh, it was actually nice. Right? But measuring this in terms of a product, hard to do, but I also want to maybe highlight like having a strong opinions about this is equally important as measuring.
Now that's interesting. So I think the strong opinions are very important. I have one more question. You had this from Jakob Nielsen, the metrics, how to measure a good usability. Do you do this on a regular level? Do you have for your products something like KPIs that you measure all these aspects, or is that only when you go to an audit that you then go through?
We usually do it in audit, and then we do it in the OK process. So when we have design reviews or product reviews, those are the things that are coming up in the question. So for example, how do we recover from the error? Like, can we see that flow? So it comes within the conversation rather than measuring this in a product.
Okay. So there is
a
question. You could go there. That would be perfect. Thanks.
Hello. Thanks for the speak. A question about UX audit. Are you familiar with some AI agents that could do this as well?
Oh no, I'm not familiar. I'm not familiar. That's the short answer. If there's like an AI tool about this. I bet in the future there will be, but I'm also like in terms of AI, I would say it's also important to cross-check with the information that AI is providing us. So a couple of tools that we actually implemented internally that are basing on the AI and sort of like our user knowledge, but it's still there's that component of checking with reality if that's the case. But I don't know any tools that can produce an UX audit for you at this moment. Didn't actually dig in that. Good question.
So are there other AI tools you already see which are used in your teams?
I mean, there are UI tools that I'm a little bit skeptical, which is, for example, synthetic personas. It's an interesting concept. I think it's more powerful if you train this on your own models and on your own data. So if you have user research, if you have those customer frustrations from customer support, you can train the data model and kind of create your user personas or have a library of insights that are easier accessible. The caveat from it is like, is it a net new or is it something that has been reported 7 years ago, right? So a little bit like critical thinking needs to be applied. But this is how we are currently using, and in terms of a synthetic persona, that's a controversial topic. I think we rather need to work with the real personas than synthetic.
Okay. So there would be a chance for one last question. We have 1 minute. if there is no question, I would like to thank you,
Thank
Karolina.
you.
Thank you very much. A big applause
Thank you.
for Karolina Skalska.